Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. I'm David on Earth, and if you're about backpacking and hiking and being outside in the great outdoors, you've come to the right place. Today, I want to talk about a real test of my solar panel while I was backpacking. Now, maybe you've seen some of my other videos that talk about the pros and cons of using solar panels on the trail, but I've never shown you the real experience. Well, recently I went on an Arizona trail section hike for 6 days, and I took my solar panel, didn't use anything else to recharge all my electronics. Here's how it went. Okay, so it was 6 days, 100 miles on the Arizona Trail. Okay, so on this trip I took my Ecenn 13-watt solar charger with me. It has 2 panels. I reviewed it in a video here recently. Go ahead and check it out. So I was generally going northbound, which means my back, where the panel was hanging, was facing south, which is pretty optimal. I had 10 to 12 hours of daylight every day. There was no cloudy days, so that was perfect. I didn't stop in any towns along the way to recharge. There was 2 towns that I stopped in. One was just to get a meal. The other one was to pick up my resupply. But I was quick, in and out. So what were my power needs? Well, I had a drone. I have my flashlight. I have my phone. I have my Garmin GPS communicator. And I have my camera batteries. And I have my power bank. All that. So what was my power consumption? Well, I have my phone on all day. That was my primary navigation device. I have my Garmin GPS device on all the time, and it was tracking throughout the day. I turn it off at night. When I wasn't in a wilderness area or other restricted area, I would fly my drone probably, 2 or 3 times a day. And I was using my camera for taking videos and taking photos all day. And I have my flashlight, which I didn't use much at all. Now, I used my power bank at night to recharge my phone because I was using my phone all day and I have it in my pocket and handy, and so I would just charge it at night. Now, before I left, I tested everything with my solar charger to make sure that my solar charger would, in fact, charge everything, and it did. Now, for the first couple days, I didn't need to charge anything because everything that I had was, over 50% still charge left in it. And I generally don't charge anything until it drops below 50%. But from day 3 to day 6, I was charging at least one thing a day. Essentially, there were 3 different situations where I would use my solar panel. I would strap it to my backpack, so it was facing south. I would use it when I was taking an extended break. So if I was on a break for more than like 15-20 minutes, I would take it off my pack and lay it to where it was facing the sun directly. And the third instance was if I got to camp early enough at night where there was an hour or 2 left of sunlight, I would point it toward, hang it in the tree, point it more towards the horizon where the sun was, so it would charge things up at that time. Now, it wasn't a big hassle. At first light, I would strap it to my back, and I would plug in whatever I was going to charge for the morning. And then I would just walk, you really don't have to worry about it. You plug it in and go. And then when one thing was fully charged, on the next break, I would just stop and swap it out for something else that needed to get charged. Now, this all worked out very well. I was really pleased with the whole experience. But there was something that was confirmed that I thought I knew before. But this was a great experiment for it, and let me tell you about it. So the angle of the sun against the solar panel matters, I found out, a lot. It made a bigger difference than I was expecting it to. So when I first started using this, I had it strapped to my pack, but it wasn't facing up. It was more facing toward the horizon. And the angle wasn't really toward the sky, which is where you need it, kind of directly facing the sun. So when it wasn't facing the sun, my Garmin was charging like 5% over like 2 hours, which is almost nothing. But when I put the solar panel on top of my pack to where it was facing, almost straight up towards the sky for most of the day, then any device that I put on there, if it was 50% or less, charged within like 2 or 3 hours, fully charged. So on a nice, bright, sunny day, I found out that I could charge all those devices in one day if I had a nice clear sky and sunshiny all day. So a lot of people don't want to carry a solar panel because it's the weight. Well, let's talk about that a little bit. So in exchange for carrying the solar panel and whatever charging cables and devices I might have to take with me for that, I would spend at least a half day, maybe closer to a full day, at least a very disruptive day in town charging everything. Or if I had this on the trail, I don't need to stop for really only the essentials in a town and then keep going if I want to. Plus, there's logistics involved in finding, the closest town to go recharge. And then while you're in town, where can I charge this? I know there's lots of places like restaurants, and some hiker towns have places that allow you to charge your devices. So that's not usually a big chore, but it's still a logistical thing that you got to figure out. Plus, if I'm in town for shorter periods, I'm spending less money while I'm in town. Typically, the longer time I spend in town, the more money I'm going to spend in that town, because you're tempted by all the great food and all the things that you can't find out on the trail. And so I tend to buy up things and spend more money in town when I'm there. So if I'm spending less time in town, I'm spending less money. Plus, if I'm not bringing a solar panel, I'm going to be out on the trail for like 5 days or more, I'm going to be carrying 2 batteries, probably my 20,000 milliamp hour and my 10,000 milliamp hour. I carry both of them. If you look at the weight of the extra large battery compared to my solar panel, it's about the same. I'm not saving any weight by not carrying a solar panel. Plus, these solar panels, you can find them on Amazon for $20, sometimes up to 50 or more. You can spend as much as you want, but you can get them as little as $20. And how much are you going to pay for a 20,000 milliamp hour battery? All right, just some things to consider. I'm not telling you to do it or not do it, but there are some things that I've heard that aren't exactly what the real experience was. Okay, so there's a couple negatives here that I want to mention that are probably worth talking about a little bit. One of them is that no matter how waterproof they advertise that they are, it's an electronic equipment. It's never fully waterproof. So you have to take some care in keeping this thing from getting too wet. The second thing is that they're very easy to scratch and to damage. One little scratch I had on mine was towards the end of the day, my pack was getting heavy. When you stop to take it off, it just kind of your pack hits the ground. Well, mine scraped up against the tree, so it scratched my panels a little bit. So these things require a little extra care. So you just have to be aware of that and just take extra caution so that you don't damage your equipment. Really no different than anything else that might be a little bit more fragile in your backpack. Just take care of your stuff. So the experience for me, as you might have guessed so far, if you watched this whole thing up to this point, is that it was generally a very positive experience. Considering all the pros and cons, this trip, with a lot of sunshine, a lot of exposure, a lot of electronics, I'm on a timeline. That's where I can't laze around in towns for days. This was the perfect setup to use this thing, and it worked out exceptionally well. So my experience is that A+ on this eScene on this trip that I took. So tell me what your experiences are using a solar panel. I've read quite a few out there, and I'm interested in yours. So write down in the comments, like and subscribe, all that stuff. I appreciate you coming along. And remember, go live like you want it, man. I'll see you on the trail.